Hello friends! How will Jame's parents react when they find out that Tu Diep is pregnant? Tu Diep woke up early as usual, put on the familiar gardening coat, then walked out to the small garden behind the house. Eggplant beds are full of fruit. Lush green cucumber vines also ready to harvest. She carefully selected the ripest fruits and put them in the basket. Mouth smiled slightly with satisfaction. This season her crops are more lush than ever. Maybe because she is in a good mood. She has a special feeling in her body, a feeling she had never experienced before. A small but obvious change in the body after harvest. Tu Diep neatly arranges eggplant and cucumber into 2 large baskets. Tied up the old bike and cycled to the market. Not like the old days, she feels a little tired today. She told herself it was probably due to overwork, but deep down she began to doubt something. Meanwhile, James was having a busy day at work, at the group's wood factory. As a CEO, you don't just sit in the office, but also directly inspect each stage of production. He believes that for a company to develop sustainably, a leader must understand every little detail. Today he came to inspect a shipment of tall oak, imported to produce furniture for a large project. Everyone in the factory respects James, because he is not only talented but also very friendly. However, in the midst of being busy with work, James can't stop thinking about Tu Diep. You seem a little strange lately. Sometimes you look tired. Eating is also irregular. He wondered if she was hiding something from him. Afternoon, after finishing work at Tu Diep market, return home, she walked into the yard. Not yet changed shoes, then stunned when seeing an unexpected visitor. James' father is sitting in the living room. He looks calmer than before, no longer as stiff and cold as when they first met. When he saw her, he nodded slightly and said softly to Diep, "I want to talk to you too." Diep is a little worried, but still politely sat down opposite him. James' father looked at her for a moment and then sighed. "I was too hard on you before. I thought you were not good enough for James. But the two come from 2 different worlds. But time passed, we have observed. And we realize that you are the one who made James happy. I was really wrong to try to stop your love." Tu Diep opened her eyes wide, not believing her ears. The man who used money to separate them now admit mistakes. James' father continued, "James is my only son. I always wanted him to have a perfect wife, by our standards, but we realized that the most important thing is not fame or family background, but true love. And I proved it." Tu Diep choked with a warm feeling welling up in her heart. Before she could reply, the door opened and she walked in. The goat was surprised to see his father sitting in the house. Tu Diep walked over, his eyes filled with curiosity. "Dad, why are you here?" James' father smiled. "I came to apologize and accept my daughter-in-law." James was surprised, but he felt the sincerity in his father's words. He turned to Tu Diep and took her hand. "Tu Diep, are you okay?" Tu Diep looked at the night with sparkling eyes. She knew this was the right time to say it, something she had been keeping in her heart for the past few days. She took a deep breath. "Then gently put your hand on your stomach." "James, I'm pregnant." The whole room went silent. James looked at her, his eyes widened, and his heart seemed to stop beating in a second. "What do you say?" His voice trembled. Tu Diep smiled and nodded. She was pregnant with our child. James was stunned and then suddenly hugged her. He held her tight in his arms, as if not believing this is true. A tear of happiness fell silently down his cheek. "Tu Diep, I can't believe we're going to have a baby." Tu Diep feels it. Night heart is beating fast in chest. She nodded slightly, tears rolling down her face. James' father stood up and approached the two. He looked at his son, then looked at Tu Diep. And in that moment, he realized that this family was truly complete. He put a hand on Jane's shoulder. His voice was deeper than ever. Congratulations to both of you. We believe that this child will be born into a loving family. James looked at his father with gratitude in his eyes. He held the Diep's hand tightly, lowered his head to her stomach and whispered, "I love you, Dad. We'll always be here to protect you and your mother." Forever happiness burst in the small house, where witnessed many challenges that they overcame together. Now they are not just a loving couple, but also about to become a father, mother, and new chapter in their lives has just begun. After receiving the news that Tu Diep was pregnant, James couldn't hide his happiness. He wanted to tell his mother the news immediately. The one who always follows you, although not often express emotions. That night, James and Tu Diep arrive at his family's mansion. Tu Diep is a little worried, because even though Father James accepted her, but James's mother, a powerful and influential woman, always keep quiet before their relationship. Step into the large living room. Tu Diep hold James' hand tightly to gain more courage. His mother was sitting on the couch. Sharp eyes looked towards them. James approached, his voice filled with excitement. "Mom, I have good news to tell you." She put the cup of tea on the table. Her eyes were calm but a little curious. "What news?" James Dean squeezed Tu Diep's hand and smiled softly. "Tu Diep is pregnant. We are going to have a baby, Mom." Space seemed to stand still for a few seconds. James's mother did not react immediately. She just stared at Tu Diep. Tu Diep felt her heart beating fast. "I wonder what she will say." After a few seconds of silence, she gently closed her eyes as if thinking a lot. Then she stood up and approached Tu Diep. Tu Diep nervously grabbed James's sleeve. But then something she didn't expect happened. She gently raised her hand to touch Tu Diep's cheek. That gentle action surprised both Mon and Tu Diep. She looked into Tu Diep's eyes, voice deeper than ever. "Congratulations to Tu Diep. You brought me happiness that it never had before." Tu Diep, eyes wide open. "I can't believe what I just heard." James's mother, powerful woman, cold and always keep distance from her, now speak out words full of sincerity. James was equally surprised and asked his mother, "Mom, are you really happy?" She smiled softly and turned to her son. "Mom has been watching you all this time. I see you change. See you know how to appreciate a woman, know how to love and protect family." That made Mom understand that Tu Diep is the person I need in this life. She turned back to look at Tu Diep. Eyes are a bit softer than before. "I have kept my distance from you before. Not because I don't accept you, but because I want to see if you really love James. I want to make sure you don't just go to it for money or status." Tu Diep bowed her head, her voice gentle. "I understand, sir. I never came to James for those things. I love him for who he is." She nodded and suddenly grabbed Tu Diep's hand. "From now on, you don't need to call me uncle anymore. Call me Mom too." Diep was stunned and tears welled up in her eyes. She never expected that the woman who had been cold to her now opened like that. James felt his heart filled with happiness. He pulled Tu Diep into his arms, looked at his mother with grateful eyes. "Mom, thank you for accepting Tu Diep." She smiled softly. First time she looked at Tu Diep like a child in the family. She said softly to Tu Diep, "You have brought James real joy. And now you are bringing this family a little angel. I will always be with you. Help your child prepare for motherhood." Tu Diep choked. She couldn't believe this moment was actually happening. She took her mother's hand. James felt the warmth that she never thought she would have. Now she understood that she was not only loved by James, but in the end she has truly become part of his family. And so on. A new chapter of their lives officially begins. Chapter of love, of reunion, and of a complete family. James and Tu Diep's love story has gone through many challenges. From family objection, from misunderstandings to life's difficulties. But above all, they have proven that True love can overcome all barriers, heal all wounds, and bring true happiness. Pregnancy was not only good news for her and James, but also a major turning point. Helped James' family fully accept her. If like before, James' father used money to separate the two, then now, he realized his mistake and took the initiative to apologize. James' mother, a powerful woman, also gradually opened up and welcomed Tu Diep as part of the family. The moment James learned he was going to be a father, he burst into happiness. From a CEO who always puts work first, he has now found the true meaning of life. It is having a loving family and a wife always by his side. Towards the Diep, she not only got James' love, but also received recognition from his family. She went from a simple, independent girl, has gradually become a strong woman, ready to build their own home. Their story is a testament to one thing: sparkling heart. True love does not depend on money, status, or situation. The most important thing is two hearts and harmony, always trust and ready to protect each other. Now James and Tu Diep really had a happy ending. Not just a couple in love, but also those who are about to become parents. Prepare for a new journey with many joys and challenges ahead. True love can overcome any challenge. Just two people always facing each other. After receiving acceptance from James' family, Tu Diep and James decided to go back to their hometown to tell her brother the good news. Brother of Tu Diep, Tuan is the one who always protects his sister, especially after their mother fell ill. I used to doubt James, assuming he is just a rich businessman, but don't really understand and appreciate me, my girl. But after what happened, he gradually changed his view of James. James stood up straight with determination in his eyes. He looked straight at Tuan, then said in a firm voice, "I know you worrying about Tu Diep, but I can assure you that I will protect her and their child. I give you all I have. I don't just love her, but I am also grateful to her for choosing me, for being there for me even though I'm not perfect. I will never hurt her." What do you think about the story of Tu Diep and James? Leave a comment.